Nice. Hello and welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a 4-color Maverick build. Playing a little bit greedy now with the format. Moving away from a few Wasteland decks. There is Rug Delver. There's a few other Delver variants, but a lot of control decks have moved away from it, which is nice. So I have decided to go with a 4-color build tonight. Mainly a green-white shell with a black and blue splash. The black splash a little bit longer, a little bit bigger with the Thought Seizers in the main deck. I was playing this because I wanted to have a little bit of interaction with my opponent on turn 1. We're not playing Mums, we're not playing Thalia main deck, so I thought Thought Seize was something that is probably worth giving a shot. I have seen Matt Vuk do really well with a list with Inquisition, which is really interesting as well. The life can add up, but I think with the deck with Uro and Oko, we do have some ways to actually gain that life back, which is really nice. We are playing Teferi. So we're playing Teferi, Kaya, and Oko as 3 really powerful 3-drop planeswalkers. All of these we can get out turn 2 with our increased number of Birds of Paradise, which is awesome. And then also playing, of course, Dryad Arbor, which is kind of our 7th way to have a turn 1 accelerant. The splash is Filiavold and Uro in the creatures. I did have a 5-color version made up, but I think a little bit more work needs to be done before it's it was kind of just a pile, and I wanted to have a bit more play around with it, so I sent it to a friend, and obviously it just wasn't ready. But I think you could do a nice version with maybe some red in the sideboard, something like a Taiga, some Pyroblasts, and a Clots, but I think for now, I'm pretty happy with 4 colors, and this deck looks pretty cool. This obviously has a pretty extensive Green Sun Zenith package from anything from Protection and Hex Drinker, Protection and Safekeeper, Early Aggression Hex Drinker. Pride Mage is our main way to deal with enchantments or artifacts in game 1. We do also have Abrupt Decay, and Teferi and Oko, of course, so I'm not playing Knight of Autumn. I did want to find room for it, but I just like Qasali as a 2-drop. We already have so many 3-drops in the deck that I did want to have some turn 2 plays that weren't just accelerating into a 3-drop. Collective from the main deck over Gaddock Teeg. I think it just has a wider spread, and it also hits a lot of the combo matchups. Scavenging Ooze is fantastic. You could be running 2. I would definitely not blink an eye at running 2 in the main deck. Uro, I was going to run 2, but I think 1 is fine. It's been really interesting in testing. We've played Uro a few times on the stream, but there hasn't been a real moment where I've wanted it over something like Knight. So I've never green sunned for it, but it's been a great top deck. So I do like Uro. Leovold's pretty nice. I've seen an uptick in Elves, so that's just a nice green sun target for Elves in the main deck. And then Questing Beast, I'm a massive fan. Huge proponent. Because we're not running Mums and we're going down on a Knight to make room for the extra 3-drops, I am not playing Scrib Ranger, just because we can't really make the full use out of it. It's just a little bit worse in this kind of list where there's nothing that we can really untap other than Mana Dorks to really get some value out of, other than Knight. To the board, I'm running 2 Silence and a Canonist. Again, for things like Goblins and Elves, Canonist I really want. And I also want a Deafening Silence impression that can also pressure my opponent. So of course, Deafening Silence great because it is a turn 1 play, which decks like Maverick have really kind of struggled on in the past. But I do like the split of having 1 Canonist instead of a 3rd Deafening Silence. 3 Thalias for the combo and blue decks where I really want it. I think for most of the time it'll be Thoughtseize that stays in for those, and maybe it's something like the Swords and the Decays that get taken out. Ramanap for the decks where Wasteland is good. I'm only playing 3 Wastelands in the main deck because it's just not that great positioned right now, but we'll see how that goes. Gaddock Teeg, I still think it's worth considering in the 75. I do think there's some matchups where it's still okay. And with some uptick in decks like Natural Order, Bug, and Bant, I think it's okay. Bog on the board is interesting. So it is quite slow. It's obviously a lot slower than things like Fairy Macabre or some sort of Leyline package. But I do like that Bajuga Bog makes Knight a lot better in some matchups. And also I just feel like the format right now, there's not a lot of Reanimator. There's not a lot of really fast decks where you need the instant speed interaction early on. Of course, with Bajuga Bog, it is pretty slow. Your best case is probably turn 1 Mana Accelerant, turn 2 Knight, and then turn 3 you have Bajuga Bog online. And I think right now that's fine. I think there's a bit of loam, a little bit of lands. Against some of the snow decks, it can be okay to hit an Uro, but yeah, a lot of the time, I'm just not really needing that instant speed effect straight away. So I think because of that, that's why I've gone with Bog over something a little more instant. And I have been enjoying it. I've usually been against Bog if you're not running a crop rotation package in the sideboard, but I think right now it's actually been okay. Yeah, Reclaimer could be really cool as well. I think Reclaimer would take the spot of Hex Drinker, being a turn 1 threat, or a Green Suns for 1 threat that I could get. I have tried Titania. I think it's just because locally I have a lot of Bolt decks that Titania obviously isn't that great against, but you do get value out of it straight away usually. I've kind of stuck away from the 5-drops as of the past few months and just had Questing Beast as my top piece. Titania is really nice against some of the really good decks. Against the decks that you want to play against where they can't deal with it too easily, like a Bolt. But I have also liked Shifting Ceratops, which is interesting. Force of Vigor is really nice on the sideboard. I like them over Night of Autumn, even though Night of Autumn is a creature. I think Force is just really great as kind of a gotcha card. And it usually gets me out of situations where I would have lost the game otherwise. So things like a turn 1 Blood Moon, some sort of really fast Mox Diamond start from my opponent. Even against Storm, it's interesting. I brought it in against my opponent in paper this week because I'm fighting with a lot of Tess and Ant players, more so Tess right now because of how the deck's kind of going. But I find when they think we're on Thalia, they play out the LEDs and Lotus Petals earlier, so you do get a chance to force them when your opponent probably doesn't want to use them. So although it doesn't seem that great against Storm, there are times where I have had some success with it. The other card that I've been seeing a lot more of is Defense Grid. And Defense Grid can be pretty poor if I'm relying on like maybe Mindbreak Trap or Veil of Summer post board. So Force is obviously good there as well, but I would say it's on if you don't have anything else to bring in, but enough to take out, then Forces can be okay, but they're not going to be they're most likely not going to win you the game. Carpet, I did want to find 2, but Card Hoarder only had 1. But I think Carpet's great right now, especially against Rug Delver. It's not the easiest card to get off the board other than a bounce or Return of Nature. So Carpet should be pretty sweet. It also allows me to play a little bit around back to basics, but that card is a little bit scary right now. Zealous Persecution is a pretty sweet card. Some people are playing the 3rd Plague Engineer. I like Zealous because it is a little bit more... It definitely helps in combat. It can also have some pretty good times against decks like Espervile, where there's a ton of creatures. Here's a recent one that I had from a game where I was able to hit a bird, a hierarch, and then also, I guess this is a human anyway, so I guess it's really the 2 birds that I get here that Plague Engineer wouldn't have. But I do like Zealous. I think it is fine instead of the 3rd Plague Engineer. The only issue is that it doesn't keep things off the board. It's kind of a one-time gotcha. Yeah, it's also quite good against goblins if they do have a really fast start. Sometimes you don't get to the 3 mana for Plague Engineer, unfortunately. So Zealous should be pretty interesting. Yeah, the natural order variants are really cool. I think it's just a lot of decks right now don't have great answers to Progenitus outside of some 4-color decks are running Council's Judgment. Some are running Supreme Verdict, some are in the 75, but a lot of decks just don't have the 2 turns to deal with Progenitus. Sometimes you can try to food and Uro your way out to get a 3rd turn by gaining life, but yeah, I think the format in general isn't that well equipped to deal with a Progenitus, so I think that's the big reason why these natural order decks have gone up. And also you just have a great Oko plan as well. So you have all these mana dorks to accelerate your plan, and then if your natural order plan doesn't work, you now have a bunch of 3/3s that are hopefully going to get the job done, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Gobbos isn't weak to sweepers, but the one thing that I like about Zealous Persecution is that usually if I'm swordsing something like a Skirk Prospector, it never feels great. But if I can at least 2-for-1 them with Zealous Persecution, then I'm pretty happy, and try to keep the swords for things like their lords, their creatures that gain haste, and obviously Muxus if it does come to that. But yeah, I think that Zealous is okay. So we'll see how that goes. This should be pretty fun. So the list I actually had was 3 Thalia's main deck instead of 3 Thoughtseers, and I had those switched. But because of the amount of non-creature spells in this list, and I mean if we put it in a pile here, it is pretty enormous. It's nearly 50-50. It is 50-50. Okay. So this is a reason why I'm not running Once Upon a Time, and this is a reason why I'm not running the Thalia's main deck, because I do think that Thoughtseize is a pretty good turn 1 play. A little bit worse on the draw, but I think that this has become pretty good. Yeah, I would definitely say that Maverick has become a mid-range deck, and I think that maybe the issue that I'm going to have with a deck like this is that it's just a worse snow control or snow mid-range deck. Whereas if you have a really tight creature-based deck, then Green Sun Zenith is just astronomically better, because you have so many cards. Like if you take out these and these, you do have some white cards in Thalia and Mum, but you do get some more slots for green creatures, which just, of course, every single green creature that you put into the deck makes Green Suns just that much better. So we'll see how this goes. It should be pretty cool. I do enjoy playing around with the 4-color list. I think that Oko in this deck allows us to buy some time to hopefully get our mana right, if there are any mana considerations. I hope you're all well, of course. Hope you're having a great week. Luckily, we have a 4-day work week right now, so I get some time off. Yeah, Reclaim is really nice. Yeah, I think that that could be a consideration for another one. Yeah, I would say Maverick was always a mid-range deck, but it's definitely been more creature heavy and creature dense than kind of split 50-50 between non-creature spells and creature spells. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it's changed over the years. I mean, it used to be, obviously, I think Plague Engineer had probably the biggest effect on how people build Maverick these days, because it's a great answer to things like Mum, Thalia, Noble Hierarch. So even adding in more birds than you usually do, maybe playing like Gilded Goose, or trying some things out like that. Up against FGC, we're on the play, which is nice. And this hand is pretty nice, so even if the turn 1 bird doesn't stick, we do only have 2 colors right now, but the Sylvan Library is going to be really nice, so I'm going to keep this. Probably pretty happy just to go basic. Yeah, basic into bird. So I do need to draw land if I do want to cast this Kaya next turn. Because the bird can make white or black, but none of my other mana sources can currently make either. Tarn. Okay. Well, there's a Windswept Heath. I'm probably pretty happy just to go Trop. Not show the Wasteland yet. And then hold up Swords. Scalding Tarn doesn't give too much away. Force of Negation fetching Force of Will doesn't give away too much either. Library getting countered is a pretty huge deal, because most blue decks don't have a great way to deal with it in game 1. Stoneforge, okay. Double Tundra is pretty nice for us because I guess we didn't fetch. so we can't cast the Kaya and Swords next turn, and we can't Kaya and Wasteland, but happy just to Swords this. I don't think that a Stoneforge deck is going to be playing Daze as well. Another Wasteland, oof. I think actually just Wasteland here is fine. Rather than getting Kaya into play. If I can keep my Stoneblade opponent off Double Tundra, which I assume is probably their only non-basic other than maybe something like Mystic Sanctuary. Hey Rascal, good to see you. Hope you're well. Sadly, we haven't seen too much of a shift in how the metagame is, but what I want here is just a spell I can cast here and then also play the Wasteland, but pretty happy just to keep going up to their mana. A little bit rough because we don't have pressure, which is what you really, really want when you're also attacking a mana base, but hopefully this is okay. And it looks like just the single. Wow. Verdant. Could go for a basic here, but I think I'm happy just going for... They're playing 2 Tundras, so I don't think this is going to be a main deck back to the basics deck. I'm going to go with a Bayou, because then I can cast Leovold without needing a Birds of Paradise around. Are you playing Green-White Depths? Very cool. The next stream on Sunday, I'm going to be doing a run through a Dreadnought, aka John O'Yannick, and doing a Bant Depths stream, which should be pretty sweet. So if I can get my opponent to show me a third color, that would be pretty cool. But I'm going to assume this is just a blue-white Stoneblade list. Oh. This haven't really drawn too well, but we definitely have a pretty great advantage right now. And at least we can cast anything we draw into, which is really nice. But the issue here is that although we wasteland our opponent off 2 Tundras and they've missed multiple lane drops, we're not pressuring them in any way. Okay, so they're playing Jeskai. Huh. Ugh. So I kept a hand with Swords, Bird, Kaya, Sylvan Library. It's turn 7. So the top 7 cards have been lands. I'm not going to complain because we are playing Maverick. We're not playing Ponders or Brainstorms. We can't really interact with the top of our library outside of Sylvan Library, but pretty interesting, I'll say it. Have I used Kaya? No. Alright. I don't believe they'll use their graveyard in any sort of delve way. But Shark Typhoon. Okay, just wanting to cycle. That's fair. So they're going to be some sort of standstill-ish deck. There's their third land. So something like Narset could come down. I could probably see Narset in this sort of list. They're most likely playing Astrolabes if they're playing a blue deck with these. Yeah, I haven't seen red before. I haven't played against too many standstill decks online. I've played a few in paper. Yeah, Kaya ulti would be sweet. But I'm not too sure if that's going to happen. Hey, Luca Boring, a huge thank you for the resub. 4 months is very cool. Hope you're well. How's your week been? How's your Magic, if you're playing any Magic? Shark Typhoon, okay. Interesting, so they're really digging for lands here. I'm going to allow this to be around for now. I guess I can just deal with it with Kaya anyway. Interesting. See what they have. Okay. So what do I really care about? Hey Vince, a huge thank you for the Twitch Prime. That is very nice. Haha. I'm actually still a mod of your channel, so I think that makes us best friends, right? So let's see what we don't care about. I don't really care about the counter magic. The Swords to Plowshares is pretty irrelevant because I can't really play around the other two. I think it's Teferi that I want to take, but Sword of Feast and Famine is also interesting. Teferi's not the biggest deal because if they draw a white source at the top and cast Teferi and tick down, I guess it's a little bit relevant because then we don't have a way to just swing back for one right now. So it might just be Teferi. We can exile the shark. Sadly, there's no reason not to play the land. We can't really put it away with something like a brainstorm, so... We also know their hands, so let's keep this up for now. Oh, Batterskull, of course. Interesting, so they brainstormed away the Batterskull because we dealt with the Stoneforge Mystic. That makes a lot of sense. I am just going to play the Verdant. And pass back. Can we add Flying Shark? Haha, I think we can. I think that's a pretty good name. Yeah, TNN would be really solid for my opponent. I'm not sure if they actually have a way to deal with the Kaya main deck outside of Council's Judgment. So at least they'd have to have double white and also Council's Judgment. Hey, Nathan. Oh, that's sick. Yeah, I think Niv Mizzet is a very cool card. Especially in, I have a few friends that play it in 7-Point Highlander in Australia and also in Pioneer. Alright. I don't think Thinning is relevant. Decay is not really relevant either. I'm going to take out these two because they can be flashbacked. They still missed a land, which is interesting. So they must have shuffled with that Ponder, surely. They chose not to shuffle. So they chose not to shuffle, but they missed a land drop. So what could they have that's going to get them out of the situation that isn't just building out your mana base while I have a pretty slow clock? Snap's okay. They do have Counterspell, so I kind of want to just use this now. This Swords to Plowshares. Abrupt Decay has a little bit more versatility, so I'm going to keep that for now and just use Swords on the Snap. I kind of want to keep this Kaya progressing through, and so to keep any way of them to deal with it off the table is just paramount for me right now, because they currently have 12 cards in exile, which definitely adds up. Sword's fine. Yeah, it looks like Kai is going to get there, which is pretty nice. So we know about the sort of Feast and Famine. So they have 5 cards, and it's these 5. Okay. That is fine. Questing Beast. Come on. Oh, does Questing Beast make this? 12, 16, 17. I think it does. Haha. Very nice. Just opened an Uro. Very nice. I don't think I've ever opened anything above 10 ticks, perhaps. And I think it was just a random EDH card. So they're at 17. They're going to take 5 here from these two, and then the Kai is going to finish them off. Oh, they have a Swords to Plowshares, of course. Okay. Well, there goes 1 Swords. I guess I could have played around that by maybe trying to draw into Caracas as well, but... I think here I'm actually just going to exile what they currently have. Just to put them at 3. Because it doesn't kill the Kaya either. Just to make sure they can't untap, play a land, and Council's Judgment. I think that obviously need like Brainstorm, draw into the planes, and the Council's Judgment, but I think this is fine because it also makes fetching a little bit more awkward as well. And they might have to use those Swords to Plowshares on this Dryad Arbor here. I'm not going to play the Scrubland. I think the Scrubland's a little bit better in my hand than it is on the field. Exile both swords. Shark Typhoon. That's fine. We'll see if they also try to equip the sword. They might even spend a Swords to Plowshares here on the bird just to get through the shark. They're not going to. Okay. I guess because the sword gives them protection. That's just a stupid error. I guess the Kaya could just take one. I'm probably a little bit scared of a Snapcaster in my end step to untap and use the sword. So I think I'm going to hit the sword here. The Kaya will take the hit of 1. And then we can just deal with the shark with Kaya. Yeah, it's pro green, which is just a misplay by me. Green Suns. Okay, so we know they have spell snare and counter spells. These aren't great. I did mean to deal with the shark here, but I think that's okay. I'm going to pass back and just hopefully get to a situation where I can use the Green Suns around counterspell. Volk's okay. Stoneforge is okay. A little bit rough, but they still have double blue up and they get Batter Skull. Another Green Suns. I think I want to get Leovold, but I might as well try to bait out a counterspell first. I could also get Qasali Pride Mage. They're going to allow this to resolve. Interesting. Oh, and they don't have up anything, so we can just go for Hex Drinker here, which can hopefully finish them off down the line. I think Hex Drink is best here, because we can just give it protection from everything next turn. Hey, thanks Nathan, all the best. I hope you're doing okay. Hey D5. Thank you very much. A huge thank you for the Twitch Prime. That is really nice. 5 months is very cool. Actually, it's just a normal tier. Thank you. That's really cool. How have you been? They have another plow, but if we give protection from instants here, then they can't really do anything anyway. So we're just gonna keep exiling stuff because we don't care about the shark at the moment. Hey, King of Pawners and Herg. Thanks for the follows. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? I feel like we're just passing here. Yeah, thankfully we do, so that's pretty interesting. And maybe my opponent didn't think about Hex Drinker because we Green Sun for 2 instead of just 1, which is a little bit tricky. They're only 1 land off actually putting in Batterskull and equipping it to the Flying Shark, but thankfully here it's going to be pretty good. Play Burn in Legacy and you're from the US. Very cool. I have Burn as a lender deck, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool deck to give out. I do need ensnaring bridges for this for the side. You play Sylvan Plug? Very cool. Huge respect for Sylvan Plug. All right. Let's see what you got. Looks like my opponent is just F6'd. So good protection from everything. Nice. Go to combat. Attack them. Nice. So I think I did make the error of just using the Kai too early. I think it's a long shot that they have the Brainstorm into second white and also Council's Judgment to deal with Kaya, so pretty happy with that. No online? Okay, that's fair enough. Sylvan Plug's really cool. I'm a huge fan. I think I played it once or twice. I do like any deck that main decks Choke and Trinisphere has a huge tick in my books. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. I don't mind the carpet. Thoughtseize is interesting. They're not playing Veil. I think Thoughtseize is okay. Sylvan is probably not where I want to be in this matchup. I don't really want to be sacrificing lands just to play around something like Swords to Plowshares. Collector Oof is okay, especially seeing that they're playing an equipment package through Stoneforge Mystic. Wasteland seems okay, seeing they're playing 2 Tundras, so I kind of want to see it. I do like the Forces. Uro is probably not in the best spot because it is a Swords to Plowshares deck, but I don't think Uro is going to be that great. Plague Engineer is fine because they might be playing True Name Nemesis as just a way to slog through, but it looks like they might just be playing the Sharks. I don't think True Name is something that I have to really worry about, so I might just play the one Plague Engineer. Sylvan Library is great, Abrupt Decay is great, Pride Mage is fine, Screws is fine. I think it's probably correct to trim on my creature-based mana accelerants because they're probably playing something like Supreme Verdict in this list. Yeah, Matsol is a very good green player in general. Probably just a very good legacy player in general. So I think the list that I got of Sylvan Plug were yours, Matsol. What else? I don't think Surgical's where I want to be. It is a little bit interesting. I don't mind Teeg to stop things like Jace, Supreme Verdict. It doesn't stop Sharknado, I believe. And then I might just bring in the Thalias. I think Thalia's okay. It is a pretty heavy non-creature deck, so we'll see how this goes. Yep. Bog's also interesting, but yeah, I think Bog is okay. It does stop things like Snapcast Mage, which is nice. This hand is okay. We get a turn 1 mana accelerant, which is nice. It does something like a Leovold, so I'm going to keep this. It is a little bit slow if the Dryad Arbor doesn't live, so perhaps we want to draw into something like a Thalia or a Sylvan Library for a turn 2 play, but I think this hand is fine. Ponder is okay. But yeah, that game would have gone so differently if we played the Kaya out turn 2 instead of the Sylvan Library, and maybe the Sylvan Library would have stuck. Hexdrink is nice, but I'm going to keep this until I can level it up in the same turn. So let's get all our mana online. Let's go for... It's between Bayou and Trop. I'm going to go for Bayou. Green Suns. And then Dryad. Cool. Even though we have the Dryad Arbor, my opponent could probably still play a standstill here if they wanted to, because we're not going to kill them before they cycle into a Shark. That's most likely bigger than the Dryad Arbor, but I'm not too sure if it's even something you would keep in against this deck. So things to think about here are probably Spell Snare, which isn't irrelevant. Counterspell. I probably don't want the Leo countered. If anything, I probably want the Knight to be countered. It doesn't matter as well what land I play here. So I'm just going to go with the Knight first. Trop to make him play around days. Yeah, it's always interesting when you do fetch up something like a Trop, how much people think about days, even if you're on something like Maverick. I don't think the Bant or Bug natural order decks play it, but if they did, then that would make it a little bit more obvious against decks like Maverick, where you might have to think about it, not knowing they're a Maverick. So yeah, I'm playing the Knight here because if they had counterspell, I would kind of want to protect the Leovold as much as possible. And they're playing Terminus, which is interesting. That's actually pretty good, because I guess this is a reason why I should have played a Jewel here instead of the Snow-Covered Plains, because this can't cast Leovold next turn. Teferi's pretty strong though. We need a blue mana. So here we'll go for Trop. I'm not too scared of back to basics because of how my opponent's mana has played out as well. There's the counter spell. That's okay. Pond is nice. I was kind of scared of like land Jace. But yeah, I am kind of wishing I didn't play the Snow-Covered Plains and played the Savannah, because it just allows for so many other plays. Oh, miss land. Interesting. I think here's the moment where I'm happy to play this Leovold. I don't believe they would have a second counter spell, and right now they can't hold up Snapcaster Counterspell. Oof. All right. You got me. Yeah, maybe I should have like stayed to being a little bit more patient, but I thought that was okay. And I guess now if we can get this, oh, there's the standstill. So I could wait for them to get up to maximum hand size and then crack this in their end step, but I don't think that's correct. I think I'd rather just try to get something here online. I'm going to go for Hex Drinker. And then probably just play the Knight as well. Just to have 2 threats on board. But that's a tough one. We don't have Dark Depths, no. Unfortunately. We don't even have Cradle. I just wanted to play Wastelands, a few utility lands that tap for mana, and then just jewels. Mystic Sanctuary, get back Terminus. Alright. A little bit late. I guess they get to, yeah. Get in for 2. And I probably want to wasteland them, but I guess we could try to draw into Green Suns for Gaddock Teeg to stop the Terminus, but hey Jack, we're currently up a game in this one, but I'm currently down 5 minutes, so I do have to tidy up here. I think we will float. We'll sack this. Peatland. Teferis are in the bin. I think just a 3-mana walker here would be fantastic. Sylvan Library's still pretty good. They do have 6 mana. I mean, they can just force this. Yeah, Spell Snare's pretty good. So we're going to Terminus now. Nothing from my opponent. Interesting. I'm just going to go with human because of Snapcaster Mage. I've considered 2, but usually when I run 2, I run into the issue of having them both in my opening hand, and that's really rough, especially against Delver. That can really really hurt. I'm not going to win this match, unfortunately, so I am going to consider conceding here and just using my 9 minutes for game 3. I don't think Ijin is where I want to be. Surgical's interesting because they do use their graveyard somewhat, and if I can take out Terminus, then that's pretty huge. Taking out Swords to Plowshares is also pretty good, but I'm just never a big fan of using Surgical against decks that don't use their graveyard as sort of their #1 resource. But it is pretty huge to be able to know you can play around Swords to Plowshares for the rest of the game. The big issue with Surgical is that usually it leaves you down a card. But against a deck like Jeskai Stoneblade, I'm going to call it, it's a little bit rough, but I think I'm just going to see how it goes. And I'm going to go... Yeah, they showed Stone in game 1. So it looks like they're kind of a mixture. I don't mind the Ramanap because they showed the Volk as well. Maybe not the second Force. I think just 1 is fine. Especially because Abrupt Decay deals with just so many things that they could have. It might actually be a Swords to Plowshares, to be fair. I don't think we should be running all 4 swords. Yeah, they're playing Terminus as well, which is interesting. I'm just going to add in another bird. Just because of the explosiveness of a turn 1 play and a bird and then a turn 2 3-drop. It allows us to play around Spell Snare a little bit on turn 2. See how this goes. Yeah, pretty cool deck from my opponent. Alright, we'd love to play first. And this hand is really reactive, which I don't like. It's also got a Dried Arbor in it, which is pretty bad, so I'm going to mulligan this. This hand is better. It's a turn 2 Thalia. I'm probably going to drop the Collector Oof and just keep the Force. Maybe not. Maybe the Oof is better. Especially if they're playing Astrolabe. Alright, I'm going to lead on the Trop because I kind of want to keep this Windswept Heath around for a Dried Arbor. So if I can draw into a white source, then that's great. And then just hold up the Windswept for a creature. Ugh. The pass is always a little bit rough. Probably means... okay. Well, I can keep this for Verdant. I don't think Thalia is just fine here. No Spell Snare one time. They didn't have a turn 1 play, so I kind of feel like Spell Snare's here. I could have played the Collector Oof if I really wanted to play around Spell Snare, but I feel like the advantage of having Thalia in play is just so much bigger than it getting Spell Snared. Alright. At least here I can use the Dried Arbor to pressure them, and then hopefully get them up to 7 cards where they have to discard to the standstill. So this isn't the worst. Oh, Wasteland's actually really nice. Yeah, it's an interesting build to be frank. I'm gonna draw. Six. And 6. Terminus doesn't do it here either. Oh wow, okay. I guess playing the fetch land plays around Terminus, which is nice. Attack 6. And let's 6. I guess they're already up to 8 cards, which is interesting. And they only have 1 land down. Maybe it's worth just building out. But yeah, so this is interesting. I kind of want to draw something that does more. I don't want to give them the land, so maybe I'll take 1 more draw step. So how much mana do they need to make a shark? 3. Okay. So we can at least get them to 12. Cool. Oh, wow. All right. There they go. Oh, Oko's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So I could do Noble Hierarch, Sylvan Library, and Oko. I could also just attack. We're not a discard yet. I think I'll give it one more turn. Thoughtseize is actually really interesting. I'm going to Thoughtseize now. To crack the still and see what they have. Swords this. We'll definitely float a mana. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to actually do that, but I think this is okay. 2 forces. I like taking the shark here. Cards 2, 4, 6, 8. So I don't want them to. I guess it has to be library. If they want to force this, it's fine. Brainstorm in response. Alright, so I guess we don't know about anything. Maybe they could brainstorm into Spell Pierce. I guess they could have drawn the Caracas off the standstill. Force pitch Shark Typhoon. Alright. Guess now's better than never. Another force? Pitching shark. Okay. So we knew that 2 cards was shark. So they probably cast Click here. This is probably fine. I could make them use the Caracas here, but I'm probably okay with them just having a look. Green Suns. Okay. They have 3 cards left. Terminus Swordspring. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Probably care about the swords here more than the Terminus. They do have the Brainstorm to put it back on top, but I think it's the swords, so they have to untap and find something. And then I just want to build out the board here. Hey Mato, you can find the deck list on the screen, which is kind of cool. Just through the cardboard live functionality. Alright, so they have Terminus and Brainstorm. So they have to find an answer to the night, or else we can deal with it. Alright, so we know about these two. So they may be thinking here if they want to return with the Caracas. Return the Vindalian Click. They are. Interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to... This is one less card they can also swords, they can also deal with as well, so... It's one less card they can put away with the Brainstorm if they need an extra card, so... I don't mind this. Another Terminus. Rough. Nothing. Okay. Ooh, Leo's pretty sweet. Happy to go collect Oof first. And then play Leo. They do have the Caracas, but at least another Terminus. I guess it makes sense. They just have the other one in hand. Probably should have thought about that. Yeah. Yep. Surgical. Nothing great here. Might as well just leave it for now. Yeah, exactly. I just completely mind blanked on the second Terminus. Oh, okay. I probably just want to go for Ramanap here, because then I can also get back the... I can't get back the Dryad Arbor. Well, I'm doing it for 3. I probably should have done it for Hex Drinker, but I guess you live and you learn. Oh, other Leovold isn't the worst, because it just draws us cards off the Caracas. Which we do only have 3 minutes, but I think that's more than fine. Library's pretty sweet. Probably should have surgical. Maybe should have surgical the standstill in response to this Brainstorm, because that's probably the card that I'm most worried about. Yeah, I should have. Rough. Let's deal with force. Okay. They're all pretty good cards. I'm going to leave the other one. Hey Jerry, I know there is a Tundra in my Maverick deck, which is not not a great sight, but yeah, this can be tough. We do get to draw a card here, which is nice. Okay. Ponder. Hope you're well, Jerry. Good to see you. I think one thing I just didn't realize as well is how grindy this deck is. Thalia not the greatest because of the Caracas, but I think that's fine. Snap. Spell Snare? Brainstorm. Okay. Haha, Bike Ride was really good. It was good to get out. We're pretty fortunate in Brisbane. Cases are next to 0, which is nice. I think, yeah. I think I should have timed the standstill a lot better. And I think the one play that I didn't see was just swordsing my own Dryad Arbor in their turn to maximize the amount of discard they have to do with the standstill. But yeah, it's tough on Maverick because you're so sorcery speed that you can't really allow yourself something like what Vile decks can do to kind of play into a spell, a standstill deck. Interesting hand. I'm going to say this is a mulligan because it doesn't really have that big of a plan. Yeah, that's tough. I hope you're well. It's a pretty rough time, I'll say. I'm going to mulligan this. I do want some creatures. This isn't great, but it's a turn 2 library, which could be okay, so I'm going to keep this and bottom the plains. They mulligan to 6. We'll keep this and bottom this. And then I'll probably just lead with the Misty. Kind of gives away the least amount of information. Mountain. Ugh. Is this Blood Moon? Oh, Chalice for 1. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I think we're probably just going for basics here off these 2 fetch lands. And then playing Sylvan Library. This also means next turn we can play the Knight as a 4/4, which is pretty relevant. So although we currently don't have like access to blue, the Knight can hopefully get us there. Double forest, double mountain, pass. Okay. Thoughtseize isn't great because of the Chalice. Abrupt Decay is pretty good. So I'm just going to go put on top. I don't mind paying once here, just to dig a little bit deeper. I'm going to play the Caracas to hide the Wasteland and play this Knight. Hey, just this and that. Thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Yeah, I'm going to assume this is Mono Red Sneak, which I guess Chandra here is pretty good because it deals with the Knight. I guess that's a consideration. Yeah, sadly without the Chandra is going to be rough. We can shuffle here. The question is, I guess I want to use the K, but put on top, put on top. I'm pretty happy just to wasteland them here off the city and then pass back. They can use a Chandra for mana if they want. Oh. But Bridge is pretty good. I wonder if they'll cast this. That's kind of nice if they do, because we have this Abrupt Decay in hand. Questing Beast would be sweet if we could get that in these top cards. No. Okay, put on top. Put on top. I probably want the extra shuffle. Yeah, pretty cool to see. Kind of like Death and Taxes. It's just kind of fallen off the grid as of late. But obviously there's still players that have it on MTGO, so they're trying it out, which is nice. And it can still steal games. I mean, turn 1 Chalice, turn 3 Chandra, turn 4 Ensnaring Bridge can still deal with give some decks some pretty big headaches. I'm kind of scared because my opponent still has 4 cards in hand. Trinosphere. That can probably just go. To be fair, like, the Chalice and 1 is stopping all my 1-drops, so it's actually pretty interesting if they are casting this Trinosphere, because I don't really care about it. What's this, another Chandra? Haha. Yeah, that's rough. I've seen a few different decks that have a pretty hard time against Espervile. Especially there, because you can't really do too much. You just have to go for it and hope they don't have it. Alright, come on. Questing Beast one time. Or Green Suns? Either one of them. Oh, okay. Put on top. I'm going to pay for this. Do I want to go to 5? I probably don't with this Chandra going. So let's go fetch land, because we do want to fetch. Play Pride Mage, and then just pass. Hey, 10k Freeman. Hope you're well. We're currently in game 2 against Mono Red Prison. Sorry, this is game 1, but match 2. Chrome Mox on top. That's not too bad. We go to 7. Trinosphere is fine. Don't really care about that. I think I just want to get Dried Arbor here. Doesn't really matter because of the Qasali Pride Mage. I think just to get it out of the deck. Come on. All I want. It's not there. One, two, three, four, 5. Okay. Put on top. Play Knight. We can draw a card, which you know is a fetch land. Attack Chandra. Thundermaw? Thundermaw's a sweet card. I'm a huge fan of that. Ah, hey Spin. That's very cool. One of my good friends, Chris, is actually moving down to Canberra, who is a massive Highlander fan, which will be, yeah, pretty interesting. He's obviously a pretty big fan of the format. Simian Spirit Guide. Okay. Huh. So I can shuffle in my upkeep with the Knight, but I kind of have to deal with the Chandra and the Simian Spirit Guide here. So I think we can just draw for the fetch land and then hopefully dig one deeper. I kind of need the Knight to attack here. I think Sylvan Safekeeper's on top. Oh, it's Plague Engineer. That does nothing. Oh, there we go. Put on top. Put on top. could go for Teferi Bounce the Simian... Oh, the Chalice. That's fine. We can use the Qasali Pride Mage on the Chalice. We can Swords the Simian Spirit Guide. Yeah, okay, this is fine. So let's go put on top. Let's go for... I could attack with Exalted, but I think here we just want to go for... sequencing, Dougal. Let's go for this on this. This on this. I'm just going to attack Chandra with the Knight and hold this back just for a Goblin, because the life could definitely add up. Play this and pass back. I guess I could play the bird. That's probably incorrect not to play it. Apologies. How does this list compare to the green, white, black ones from last month? A little bit different. A little bit more heavy on the mana base. I guess I couldn't play the bird because of the Trinosphere, so... Yeah, 3-ball. So I guess the card that I'm scared about is like... let's go put on top, Bone Crusher Giant and like another Chandra. So here I'm happy to fetch to 3. Just get a drop. Attack for 10. And then next turn we can attack for 12 with the Plague Engineer. Plague Naming Goblin also does a lot because it stops either one of them. Either one of the goblins coming down. Rebel Master or the other one. Hey, your health matters. Welcome. I hope you're well. I do really like your username. I think that's a really good username. 3 mana Bolt. I don't think they're running Bolt, but they could have some reach. I'm just not sure what it could be. Yeah, there's Stomp. That deals 2. Did they just have double Stomp? Surely not. I didn't have a way... Oh, this is fine. Because they have to block the Knight. I guess we'll see what happens here. Oh, Safekeeper means they do. Nice. Put on top. Put on top. Play Safekeeper. Swing with all. They have to block here. And just hope they don't have something here. Haha. Yeah, they need a bridge. Chandra wouldn't have done it. Khan would have done it if they had another land as well, because then they could Khan for bridge. Nice. That always feels good. And this matchup always feels pretty nice because we have the Force of Vigors in the board. Zealous is interesting because of the goblins, but I think Plague does a good enough amount of work there. I do like taking out the Thoughtseize here. They're pretty easy cuts because of Chalice. Everything else is pretty interesting. Yeah, unfortunate. Bone Crusher is pretty cool because it gives you some reach, but otherwise it's a little bit rough. Yeah, there's also Fiery Confluence, which could deal up to 6 to me, which is pretty good. The question is, do I want anything else? Thalia's okay. I don't think she's great on the draw, but on the play she's fine, and she's also pretty good against their goblin strategy. Scavenging Ooze is interesting. Probably not what I want. Collector Oof is nice because it shuts down their Moxen. Yeah, maybe Thalia is worth it. I'm just trying to think what I want to drop. It might just be something like Safekeeper. And then bring in 2 Thalia. Yeah, I think a lot of their sweeper effects just makes Safekeeper a little bit worse, and also because of the Chalice. So we'll see how this plays out. And I think if there's a game 3, we'll definitely bring in the 3rd Thalia, which is pretty nice. But Spinner, what's the Canadian or what's the Canberra Highlander scene like? Do you guys have like a monthly like F&M Highlander, or do you guys just play leagues over X amount of weeks? Big shout out to CBR MTG, which are currently taking a small hiatus, but hopefully they'll be back. Yeah, Chalice isn't the greatest against us, but they do have ways to deal with. Chalice can get us. If we don't have a hand that's prepared for Chalice, it can be pretty rough. If we keep a hand of Mana Acceleration and just don't have like Abrupt Decay or Green Suns for Qasali Primage, then it can run away with the game, but I think this hand is fine. We can go for basics early on, which is nice, so I'm going to keep this, but we do just get done by like a turn 1 Moon. Alright. We have Force of Vigor, which is nice. So we do have some outs. But hopefully they don't have a follow-up spell that's great here. I mean, Blood Moon Chalice 1 is pretty nice, let's be honest. Okay, this is fine. We do have these Force of Vigors somewhere. Come on, time. Haha. Oh, is this a okay, not too bad. But pretty good. Yeah, Force of Vigor would be really nice. We do have some time, but like turn 1 Moon into turn 2 Chalice into turn 3 Moon into a threat is like double threat here is really good. Yeah. Just a little bit too good. We have one more draw step. Now we have no draw steps. I don't think we have an out now. Yeah, the trop's interesting. I'm not too sure what's happening there. Were we going to get to it? Ah, still. They had 3 moons. They had 3 moons. It's fine. Let's go extra Thalia. Thoughtseize is interesting because we're on the play. But maybe that's overthinking. Sometimes moon players keep that one really good spell and the hand kind of falls if they don't have the rest, but the one thing that I don't like about Thoughtseize is that it stops us from playing a turn 1 Dork and fetching for a basic. So maybe Thoughtseize interesting, but Out Engineer? I guess we haven't seen the goblins, but I do like that Engineer is just an out to both of the goblins that make 1/1 creatures. Interesting. They have no goblins? Alright. I'm going to take your word for it. I'm going to take your word. I'm going to keep 1 in. I'm going to keep 1 in. There we go. That's 60. We would like to play first. And this hand is fantastic. This hand is outrageously good. I'm going to keep this. We can fetch for a basic. We can play a turn 1 Mana Accelerant. We have a turn 2 Oko. We also have Force of Vigor. I don't think a hand gets better than this. Even though we have the 2 creatures, I'm still just going to go for a basic here. It just makes things so unstressful. I'm going to play the Hierarch because I want to keep the bird for now. Just in case they have something like a turn 1 stomp. But being on the play is just so much better. Hey Chaotic, welcome. Hope you're well. And there's the stomp, so that's the reason why I wanted to keep the bird around, which is really nice. Ooh, Thalia. I think bird's just best here because we can get down the Oko. Charles for 1 is fine. Oh, they missed a land drop, which is interesting. But I think I'm happy just to untap and play the Oko. Yeah. We still want to we still run a 1-off Dryad, yeah. I could force here, but I think there's better takes. I'm not even that scared of something like a Chandra here. Magus is fine. Elk this. Play Thalia. I could Green Suns if I wanted to. Could Green Suns for 1 for a Noble Hierarch. But I think I'm okay just to attack here. I'm not sure if the jewels are bugged or just because they only tap for red. I think they just don't show that they're mountains, which is fair. Green to Collector. Yeah, so next turn I can go for Collector Oof, which is kind of nice, but they could just have something like Chandra here, which would be pretty good. See what this does. Tick up. Huh. 2 red. Simian Spirit Guide. Cast this guy. Okay, that's pretty cool. Knight. Huh. It'll be a 3/3. I could also make the Thalia a 3/3 and then Green Suns for Questing Beast, which is pretty sweet. Oh, I could also tap the bird for mana. I could tap the bird for mana and then trade it with the Bone Crusher Giant. But I don't have enough mana for Green Suns for a haste creature. What do I want to do here? So we have access to Green Suns for 3 because of the Thalia, but if we Elk the Thalia, we then get access to Green Suns for 4. I'm probably okay with that. Yeah, I could make food as well, and then switch, wait a turn, but I feel like I do have to deal with the Chandra here. They're going to let the Chandra slide. Interesting. We still have this Force back up. I'm going to keep the Force. Yeah, my opponent just has land. It's pretty bad. This is fine. Questing Beast should always go to face. Yeah, that's very correct. That was just a misplay. But luckily here, we're looking pretty good. Create a food. Play a land. Play knight. Attack for 6. Put them to 11, and the next turn they have to block. It's a tough spot for opponent. Yeah, I think once they're top decking, it's quite tough. Outside of maybe Khan, I guess Fiery Confluence could do it because it deals 3 to all creatures, but then they still have to deal with the Oko. So, thankfully pretty good. I'm just going to do the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, thankfully with the Mana Dork it is pretty easy. Alright. Nice. Alright. Nice to get back on the board. But yeah, Mono Red Prison, especially since Force of Vigor is printed, I definitely feel pretty comfortable playing against. If they don't start off with like a turn 1 Chalice or a turn 1 Blood Moon, we obviously have some mana acceleration that takes us out of really caring about Blood Moon and most of the time not caring about the Chalice either, which is pretty nice. It's a nice kind of position to be in. Against Yuihei. Ah, interesting. Got a mulligan this. Yeah. Interesting. This could be the this could be Bug Zenith with Yorion. I'm gonna mulligan this. We can't of course really do anything, so this is better. And because they're on Yorion, they're probably playing around with Astrolabe, so I don't mind the Collector Oof in this hand. So I'm gonna keep this. And I'm gonna bottom the Trop. Pretty sure. This player is from Melbourne in Australia, which is very cool. A very good player. Top 8 at a few challenges, I believe. kind of brought Bug Zenith to the forefront, which is awesome. But yeah, Yihui's been here in chat a few times as well. Ponder. Okay. Ponder's fine. I'm probably going to go with the Sylvan Library here. Just to play around any sort of counter magic other than Force of Will. We'll see what they did with their Ponder as well. They chose not to shuffle. Okay. Savannah. So I do like the Savannah here because we can keep the fetch lands for Sylvan Library. I'm going to use my mana to cast it, so then if it doesn't resolve, we can still attack with the Noble Hierarch. It's totally High Tide. 80 card High Tide. Interesting. Oh, it resolves. That's pretty huge. Especially because my opponent doesn't have a turn 1 Astrolabe. It means they can't turn to Abrupt Decay it. So we're getting at least probably 2 cards out of this Sylvan Library, which is really nice. It's where you kind of have to be against these value decks that just apply pressure, but also just get so much value out of each of their cards. Alright, what do we see? Plague. Pretty nice. So I kind of want all of these because I want the extra fetch land. I want this. My opponent does have a few ways to deal with this Sylvan Library next turn. So I probably just want to pay for all of this right now just to make sure I get maximum value out of it. Happy to attack with this first. See if it yields any responses. It doesn't, so now we can play the bird. And then probably Wasteland. Keep the fetches around because we paid 8, so that the top of the library is fresh anyway. And I'm just going to go for Collective. Dead of Winter is also a card here that would be very good. Just as a 3-for-1. But nothing. Thoughtseize would be kind of cool. They're going to upkeep fetch. What you going to do? Ice Fang? Decay on library. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Peatland. I'm going to draw now, just to see if we draw into like another Exalted creature. Oka would be kind of cool as well. Now we can just hold up swords for something like Uro. I think Plague Engineer's role in this matchup is probably to name Snake to stop any Ambush Viper type nonsense from Ice-Fang Quaddle. Dead of Winter. Okay. Can't do anything here. I guess I could float mana, but there's no real need to, so that's fine. This is where I really need to follow up with something like a Planeswalker. Dried Arbutus, isn't it? I will play the Plague Engineer just to get pressure on the board, and I'll get a Bayou. I guess that's my only real card. And I'm just going to name Snake. Bug Zenith. So it usually also plays Green Sun Zenith. What are we naming? Snake. Which is a really cool deck. I've played it on stream sometimes, both the 60 card and 80 card version. Just a very hard deck to keep up with when it comes to value. Because like cards like Dead of Winter, Ice-Fang Quaddle, Uro of course, are all usually doing more than just a 1-for-1. Oko's pretty good. Now we're just on that weird like Oko plan of like we have to deal with Oko unless we draw Abrupt Decay. Okay. I guess they could have like main deck Veil, but luckily they don't. Yeah, sometimes you call it and it comes, which is nice. Just gonna play the Arbor and pass. Opponent brainstorm, but didn't want to fetch. Maybe they kept an Oko, a second Oko on top, just in case. Teferi. Teferi's not the worst. I guess they could have Drown the Lock for the creature that they don't bounce. So I could Wasteland or Swords my own Dried Arbor here to stop them from drawing a card, but I don't think that's worth it. And there's the Drown. Can take them off some mana, which is nice, but I do feel the strain on this game kind of pulling away from me. Especially now with my opponent with 4 cards in hand. I also can't Swords like an Uro right now, so that's pretty bad. I'm gonna put Yorion into hand. Interesting. Alright. Thoughtseize you. See what you have. At least if they have like a snake, this means we can Swords it before we attack. So I can't really play around them having something, so I think I just take the Yorion. And then they can either Swords this or make a 1/1 Shark. Or just not really care about it, because it's not going to kill a Teferi, which is pretty rough. So we know about Shark, Force, Sword. Astrolabe is a free draw. Oko as well. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't think we can beat both, but we'll try. At least for another draw step. And we know they have Force in hand. Yeah. Just a little bit too slow and not very threat heavy. We had, like, yeah, Plague Engineer and Collector Oof are not the threats that I'm looking for in this matchup. So what do I like here? I do like the Bog because of Uro. I do like the Carpet. Thalia on the play is fine, but of course it doesn't stop Dead of Winter. I'm pretty happy to drop down on some amount of Swords. Sylvan Safekeeper. Probably 1 Wasteland. Yeah, that's the big issue with Snow decks, is just the amount of value that they have. That if I'm using a Source of Plowshares on one of their creatures, they've probably already drawn a card from it, got some sort of flashback value, done, you know, something with it. So I'm going to run out of cards and then look at their hand and they're going to still have, you know, 6 cards in hand, which is pretty rough. But I mean, it's a big deck in the format right now, so you kind of just got to have something for it. I don't think the forces of... I might bring a force in just because of Back to Basics, which has come up. I'm going to go down on probably nobles over birds because of Plague Engineer most likely naming human in the blind. I think it's better to have more birds in the deck than noble, but I might just keep it there. Zealous is an interesting one, as I might be able to deal with more than one creature. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead with this. Would love to play first. And this hand's pretty good. Turn 1 bird, if it doesn't resolve, we have a turn 2 Thalia, and then we have a turn 4th Oko or Teferi, so I'm going to keep this. I'm just going to go for Trop into bird here, and keep the fetch land. Astrolabe's fine. I'm going to go with Thalia here. Thalia, I won't show the Caracas yet because I don't have to worry about days, and at least now I know that the Thalia is gonna stay around, and I also have access to 4 mana next turn for Oko and Teferi, so I can still cast them on turn 3, which is nice. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to attack first. Because what they might want to do is, in response to one of these two, remove the Thalia. And then force one of these. And I think because there's more Okos in the deck than Teferis, I'm more than happy to go with Oko here. But something like Back to Basics would be pretty huge next turn. If they can remove Thalia, force this, and then untap and back me, then it's pretty rough. So maybe Swords to Plowshares or Fatal Push. They're going to Brainstorm, which is really interesting, because now they're tapped out, and they can't pay for the Thalia attacks, so they're not going to be able to counter the Oko here. Which is pretty great for us. So we're just going to create a food. And pass back. Probably just an Abrupt Decay here, but what's it going to be? Abrupt Decay. That's fine, because now we have Teferi to come up as well, which means we can also hold up Caracas for the Thalia. Oh, Kai is pretty strong. Kai gets rid of the Astrolabe, which is nice. Maybe I like Kaya better. So Kai is really nice because it deals with the Astrolabe without you actually losing a card. Kaya still sticks around, which is a pretty big bonus. Which I guess cuts them off green for now. I'm just going to go for a forest here. Kaya. Exile this, and then just pass. Teferi is interesting as well because it means that the following turn, unless they have another decay, they can't counter the Kaya because of Teferi's tick up. Preordain's fine. Preordain for 1 mana is more than fine. So we'll see what it does. And if it's bottom or top. Or a mixture of both. 2 cards on the bottom. Okay, that's pretty good for us. I'm going to play this. I have a few options. I'm definitely going to attack first because I don't want to cast the Teferi and then go to see them swords or fatal push the Thalia and then counter the Teferi. I might as well try to get my 2 damage in first. Now we can exile some cards. I'm going to exile probably these 2. I could go after Brainstorm if I was really scared, if I was really worried about Snapcaster Mage, but play Teferi. So this is where we might see them try to destroy the Thalia. Yeah, so here we get to thankfully get some value by returning it to hand. They've done this so they can probably Force of Negation or Force of Will this Teferi. Which, pitching an Icevein Quotal is pretty huge because that's 2 cards for them pretty much. It's a card that I have to deal with and also a card that they draw. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. And here we're just going to pass back. My opponent has 3 cards in hand. There's back to basics. Alright. A land here would be pretty nice. Because then I can go for Kusali Pride Mage. I don't get it. So let's exile Swords and Brainstorm. And then let's play this Sylvan Library. Because I want a Green Suns most likely for Kusali Pride Mage. They're going to cling to draw a card, I believe. Alright. Oko's fine. This means they can't flashback Cling, which we can exile with Kaya, which is kind of nice. They're also down to 1 card. Alright. Oof, does nothing. Let's find a land here. Cool. Put on top. I'm going to pay for this. Play a land. I'm going to fetch first. Because I don't want to get caught out where they can swords my Kusali Prime Mage in response to it. Being hit. Nice. So we get Kusali. we exile these two, which is pretty close to putting them at lethal with Kaya. Just kind of absurd. Ice Thing's okay. Kusali nicer for Abrupt Decay as well because it plays around Veil of Summer. Kai seems to be rather good against do not much decks. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even decks that aren't, you know, using the graveyard as a full resource, it does a hell of a lot. Even just ticking up every turn and making things exile so that when it comes to the ability, it's pretty huge. Dead of Winter is really nice there because the Kusali's role was to block the food to stick around, and then pop it, but that's not going to happen because of this Dead of Winter. But at least we untap with a bunch of mana. That's pretty cool. And Decay's pretty nice. Let's go 2, 4, 6. So we need this plane. So let's put this on top and pay for the planes. They have one card left. So let's go Decay Oko. Play Knight. Play Thalia. And then tick up Kaya, exiling Dead of Winter and back to basics. Preordain's okay. Two bottom, one time please. One top, one bottom. Okay. So they probably have an answer to one of these. Oh, ponder again. Okay, digging. Which is kind of nice. I guess they have a land drop to make, so they could still have something like Abrupt Decay. Hey Pan, thank you very much. I very much appreciate the feedback. Hopefully do some more in the future. I think we're both pretty keen to get some more Highlander content going, so that should be pretty sweet. I'm going to quickly see what they're attacking. They're both probably attacking Kaya, yeah. I want to keep Kaya around, so I'm just going to chump block here. Because I want the Knight to be bigger, and I think I have the time to make it bigger, which is nice. Alright, so we know about Noble. Carpet. Nothing great here. Let's go top. Play this. Still gonna exile. I could go after the food, but I think this is okay. I'm gonna fetch down to 9. I'm just gonna get Dryad Arbor. Ah, yeah, that's fine. And now I'm gonna pass. I was gonna use Nurturing Peatland in my turn, but I think this is okay. I'd rather block with the Knight and then use Nurturing Peatland just to keep this Kaya alive. I haven't on the stream, but it would be pretty cool to do. We have a pretty active Highlander scene in Brisbane, which is great. But yeah, I should play more Highlander on the stream because it is a pretty great time. Here I'm going to float with the Savannah and get Peatland and draw a card with Peatland. Green Suns. Plague's pretty good. Ooh, Leo's pretty good as well. Tick this up. Exile these two. They have 2 cards. I'm going to go for Leovold. I'm going to go for... Plague first. Hey, Forza Williams. Haha. Hope you're well. Hope all is well over in the Western State. Alright, that's cool. I guess an attack here is fine. I might just play this Leo first to see what's up. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Attack for 6. Add some pressure. It's all well. Very cool to hear. I'm a big fan of your buy-ups of your Legacy collection lately. Very cool to see. Hopefully you already had some Cradles. Interesting to see them stop. Maybe they have a removal spell but just don't want to use it on the Knight? I think Knight's a pretty good target for any sort of removal. They're going to fetch. Okay. It's always a little bit scary. What's this? Oh, Shark Typhoon for 5. Okay. And they still draw because it's this turn. They're going to double block perhaps. Huh. I guess I didn't see this coming. Definitely killing the shark. Unless they think they can just attack with lethal next turn? Somehow? Alright. I'm definitely putting the shark first. Yep. My local in Sydney has a sanctioned Legacy thing every Friday and started doing some paper 7-point on the side. That is very cool. We have used Kaya? Yeah. There are some... Yeah, there's some pretty cool ways that people do it, especially with Eternal formats. I know that Toowoomba, I believe, has like a Monday that they rotate Eternal for. So like they have Legacy on the first week of the month, Highlander on the second, and maybe a little bit like 2 other things, or they do like a Legacy, Highlander. Ooh. Get to draw a card. Swords? Waste. Oh, we knew about it. Okay. That's fair. I guess they did that. That doesn't mean they have a removal. They might have just done that so we couldn't block with Leovold, then return it to hand. Cling the Peatland. Astro. Okay. They're digging. They're digging. I guess they want us to draw extra cards and Leovold was stopping that, so that makes a lot of sense. That also opens them up to another black source, which is interesting. And I'm going to assume they're attacking Kaya. Yeah, so here I'm pretty happy just to trade. And then I think what I want to do here is wasteland their Trop so they can't hold up hardcast Force of Will for this Leovold. Oh, we also have Thoughtseize. We can pay. We can pay. So let's go land. Hit Trop. See if they float. They do float. Okay. We can pay. I'm happy seeing what they do with this one green. Because if it is a shark, we can exile it with Kaya. I could have wasted another Caracas as well, but I don't really care about it. I really wanted to take them off the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 3, 6. Okay. I can attack with the Dryad Arbor here. I'm okay with that. Just to keep applying a little bit of pressure. Alright. Let's start off with Thoughtseize. See if the coast is clear. Oh, there's the Force! So we played around the Hardcast Force, which is very cool. I guess we take it anyway, but now we'll definitely go with probably just Leo and hold up Caracas. Very nice. Let's exile Oko and actually let's exile Cling and Ice Fang so they can't flash it back. And also gain some life. And I think I like the I guess can they, yeah, okay, they can flash it back. I thought the flashback was more. It's only 4, yeah, that's my bad. That's fine. I guess, yeah. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, I'm pretty happy if they want to Caracas my Leovold. Getting Uro. Oh, Yorion, sorry. That's fine. Especially seeing we have the Caracas for Yorion. Unless they have other plans. Ooh, our turn. Okay. The big thing here is as well as time. I have to be, if we do get a third game, I have to be very quick. Oh, okay. Put on top. Put on top. Nice. Attack with both. Yeah, I'm okay with this because of the Caracas. Play Scoos. And then just pass back. This is fine. Swords on this. I probably just want to gain some life here. At least to 5. And I'm just going to 6 this turn pretty much. Plague's going to be okay. Probably naming Dryad? Yorion. I'm just going to return it now and then 6 to save some time. Mm-hmm. I could get Questing Beast, but they have the Caracas. So I do need to draw into Wasteland. Put on top. Put on top. Play the Misty. Play Leo. Fetch. Savannah. I'm gonna exile the Astrolabe. I guess I should have ticked up because that is just like it just wins next turn. That's incorrect. And now I'm just gonna Green Suns for 2. I'm gonna get Oof because it doesn't die to the Plague Engineer. Yeah, that could have been done better. But oh, okay, okay, interesting. Yeah, I think tick up Kaya was incorrect. Tick down Kaya, sorry. Ooh. At least if they tap out here, we still have Green Suns for Questing Beast. Let's see what happens. Oh, I can't. Yeah, okay. Rough. Oh. Okay, so I have to kind of gain some life here. What can Green Suns do? Did we bring in Ramanap? We didn't. This is tough because this is just time ticking away, but I'm not too sure what the optimal plan is. Just really want a Wasteland. Yeah, I think sadly it's Green Suns for a Knight, which at least is a 3/3. I should have definitely gone for Kaya tick up. Oh, Uro is interesting. I think Knight's just better here. And then we can blue, black, green, Leo. Bog them. They drew a card, which is pretty rough. That's probably incorrect. Now we don't even draw a card off our Leo. That's pretty rough. Just not optimal plays here. Rough. Swords is pretty good. Yeah, saw 0. Yeah. We'll concede there, unfortunately. We just don't have a way of getting back. I think the biggest turn was not ticking up the Kaya, because that was our win con. Yeah. But that is fine. Snow just so hard because it just grinds so well. And obviously there you could just see that, you know, Knight's just pretty much a vanilla card, unfortunately. Whereas things like Uro, Leovold, Oko just so good at gaining value, even if they're destroyed by, you know, a one-off threat. Alright, Vince. This hand is pretty good. I'll keep this. The dried up is a little bit rough, but I think that's okay. Gonna lead on the Noble Hierarch just because Bird opens us up to a few more colors. But I think here we're just gonna go for probably Bayou into Noble. Yeah, GG is just so much value from Snow, which it's pretty hard to deal with. But I shouldn't have ticked down the Kaya. That was the big misplay, because then I had lethal on the following turn. But that's Magic sometimes. Hey, Twinless Twin MTG, thanks for the raid. Let me know what you just streamed. Hey Zuki, welcome. Hope you're well. Baby Bite, that's a hot take on the format. I think it's pretty grindy right now, which is nice. There's definitely a few ways to deal with the format. And if you're playing against a bunch of turn 1 stuff, then there's definitely outs to it, which is nice. Oh, they're playing Elves? Okay. We do have some cards. We do have Uro, which is nice. It's a copy pasta, though. I think Legacy's pretty cool, especially seeing decks like this. What do I want to do? Do we have Teeg? It's in the board. I guess we have Leo. So let's go for Uro this turn, and then Leo next turn. That seems pretty sweet. Alright, blue. Oh, okay. Let's put a land into play first. Let's put in Caracas. And then return Uro with the trigger on the stack. Just to get some more value out of it. That's pretty cool. You're grinding some Rug Delver? Nice, okay. What's your creature build in Rug Delver? Because I currently just finished the mana base, and I have a few different creatures. Like I have the Goyfs, I have the Delvers, the Hooting Mantles, and everything. But I'm not too sure on like the rationale of each. And if you're playing something like Tarmogoyf, if you should stay away from Hooting Mandrills, or I saw some lists playing with Hex Drinker, which is pretty cool. Hey, Cardboard Live James, a huge thank you for the follow and welcome to the stream. Very cool to be running Cardboard Live here. Big fan of it. Big fan of the Humans of Magic podcast, which you can find James on, of course. Yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe playing out my mana is better. Because it could get to a situation where maybe we can get into like Green Suns for Leo and Plague Engineer if we draw it. But I think here the big play is just to try to get Leo on board ASAP. Tuning in for some hot Green Suns Zenith action. Well, you definitely found the right place. Yeah, I think it's just Dried Arbor here and then Green Suns for Leovold, because at least that interacts with what Vince is doing here. Especially once they have the Wirewood Visionary line on. And they haven't used a Glimpse yet, which is kind of nice. So Green Suns here for Leo just is perfect. It is Vince on Elves. So hopefully we can get up We do have some nice outs that Maverick doesn't usually have in the main deck, which is Plague Engineer, which is pretty huge against Elves, of course. Which is probably the real card we want to find. Leo's nice because it does slow them down off their Glimpse Chains, Visionary. That's really the two, but yeah, it is nice to have some main deck answers because sometimes Maverick can be a little bit too fair against Elves. A little bit like Death and Taxes. But something like a Cradle into Natural Order is sadly not something we can play around in the game one. If you are main decking Gaddock Teeg can, but right here what I'm really looking to do is hopefully race to try to find Plague Engineer before they go too wide. Because Elves can definitely just play a pretty fair game here. Alright, on time. Not what I want. So I kind of want to play the Tundra because it doesn't cast the Noble or the Birds. Yeah, thankfully there is. So I could Uro. If I Uro into another land, I can also cast Questing Beast. The reason I might not want to put in the Tundra, I guess we get to draw into a land anyway. So if it is a wasteland, we can put it in. So let's go play Tundra. Play Uro like this. Yeah, Noble and Beast is also pretty nice because it does give us a pretty good clock. But hopefully if we draw into a land here, we can also cast Questing Beast. Oh, there it is. Very nice. We don't draw into a land, which is fine. But we do currently have mana up for Yours Truly, which is very cool. So the natural draw, pretty lucky, but obviously our plan was to achieve this. So Vince here will be able to return 2 with the Wyrewoods, which is actually pretty interesting. So there is consideration to name Insect if Vince does return the Visionary and the Birchlaw here. But I don't think there's a reason to do it. It's tough though. Yeah, Elves is always the name. So I guess what this does is, if I do go with Insect, it also makes Cradle worse. But I think that in the long game, that Elf is just correct here. And luckily now my opponent can't... I guess they could like quadruple block the Leovold. So if they fetch here, the Elvish Reclaimer becomes a 2/3. I think I'm okay just passing. Yeah, I think Vince would be happy to trade Reclaimer, Dried Arbor, Wirewood with the Leo, especially knowing that they have a Elvish Reclaimer in hand. And I think because we have the plan next turn of going for, if we do get a next turn, of going Noble Hierarch and Questing Beast, and just start attacking there, and that should hopefully start shutting down that clock pretty quickly. But, you know, Natural Order is still a live threat, so... What answers to Engineer does Elves have main deck? So one answer that they might have is that Elvish Reclaimer builds have been playing Cabal Pit, which is pretty cool. So Elvish Reclaimer, of course, can find Cradle, which is great, but then you also have, I think, usually one Horizon Canopy and one Cabal Pit, which is pretty awesome. But I believe Cabal Pit needs Threshold to tap and give target creature -2/-2, so they're a little bit off that for now. Archon could come down, but it wouldn't race the Questing Beast, thankfully. We might even be seeing Elvish Reclaimer here holding up that that Cabal Pit. So let's go with Wasteland. And I'm not going to use it yet because Reclaimer can just sack the land that we choose. And they can't return the Dried Arbor, luckily. So let's go Noble Hierarch. Bird. Beast. And now we can attack for 6 with the Questing Beast. And then we'll see what happens with this Elvish Reclaimer in their end step. And probably Wasteland, the Dried Arbor, or the Cavern. I assume they just sack the Cavern. Because the Dried Arbor kind of adds 2 with Guy's Cradle, but we'll see what they get here. And if they get Cradle, I'm happy to Wasteland this now. I could do it in upkeep as well, but it also gives my opponent the opportunity to use Elvish Reclaimer in their turn, just to find another one. But yeah, Natural Order is probably the big card that I'm kind of worried about here. At least over the next few turns. We do have a 2-turn clock with Questing Beast, which is fantastic. But Vince does have a few outs. Green Suns. What can Green Suns do? I also have Uro in the bin. Ooh, what I could do... That's actually pretty interesting. Let's go to attacks first. And then I think I have a pretty cool play. I can't get another engineer because I can only get a green creature. But I think what the play might be is go for 1, 2. Green Suns for 1. We can't stop Teeg because Teeg's in the board. We can get Sylvan Safekeeper. And now we can go green, green, blue, blue. And then we can give Pro and sack this. We can give Pro and sack this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then probably just the Bayou. Pro, sack this. A little bit of overplay here, but I think this is pretty cool. So now we can cast Uro and get rid of these lands. Nice. Now we get to draw a card. If it's a land, if it's a wasteland, that's pretty big. Pride Mage, okay. Not really relevant here, but it is something we can cast. And I just passed, but that's fine. That's fine. I guess it isn't relevant because of the haste, but you never know. The extra blocker could be relevant because Cradle here is going to be pretty... Oh, another Dried Arbor. That makes me think that they probably have maybe Cradle Hoof in hand. Come on, Vince. Don't do me like this. Bog. Okay, Bog a little bit too slow, and it also gives me a draw card. I also wanted to do that play because it gains me 9 life, 3 from Uro, and then 6 more as a blocker, which with a massive hoof can hopefully come up. It would be interesting. I didn't actually do the actual... I didn't do the math, but it looks like we're going to find out. And hopefully it doesn't come down to me not playing this Qasali Pride Mage. But it shouldn't, because we have 2 toughness between the birds and the Dried Arbor anyway. This looks like a Green Suns for Hoof. Alright. But I feel like it's not enough, thankfully. Yeah, it's currently only 22. Which I can just take, correct? 6, 12, 22. These all have trample. I'm just going to take this. There's nothing I'm missing. 16, 22. Nice. Okay. I guess it kind of mattered, but I guess the Euro didn't really matter, but still a cool play. So luckily one sideboarding consideration comes up, and that's Aethersworn Canonist over the 3rd Deafening Silence. So Deafening Silence is a great turn 1 play against combo, like Storm and Reanimator and other like Dark Ritual decks, because Maverick doesn't traditionally have many turn 1 plays against decks like Ant or Tez or Reanimator. So Deafening Silence is really nice because it is a turn 1 play that you can then back up with something like a Thalia later on. But I dropped one for a Canonist because Canonist is also great against the Elves decks that are popping up, and also Goblins on the play. So pretty cool to bring that in. I do like Gaddock Teeg here. Wow, what was that? What did I just do? Did that change? Oh, creatures, non-creatures? Interesting. Oh, I hate this. How do you change it back? Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Do you... I don't want to sort. Okay. Right click combine. There we go. Thank you. Okay, there we go. And I want to sort by converted mana cost. Okay, cool. So cards that can come out. Collector Oof does nothing. Qasali Pride Mage does nothing. The Engineers are fantastic. Sylvan Safekeeper is interesting. I don't mind it because they usually bring in Abrupt Decay for things like Teeg, so I'm going to keep that. I think Teferi is a little bit too slow. Screws can be okay if the game gets really grindy. Zealous is great. I actually don't think there's too many other cards. Thalia doesn't do a whole lot. Usually the big consideration is just turn 4 or turn 3 or even turn 2 natural order for Progenitus and just try to win off that. But this is 60 and I think this is fine. Everything kind of has its place. We'll see how this goes. Zealous is probably the bigger card in the board that we get to have a look at, which is nice. Yeah, I think the big thing is just trying to find those silver bullets in Plague Engineer or Zealous Persecution, which Zealous in this matchup also having a considerable advantage over the 3rd Plague Engineer because of things like Insect, Wywood Symbiote, and then also Elf in most of the Elves. But this is an interesting hand. So this is a hand that has Mana Acceleration in Birds of Paradise. It has a threat in Hex Drinker. It has all the mana in the world, and then it also has removal in Swords. But I think this is a little bit too fair. And it's a hand that if I draw into another land, I'm probably not going to be in a good place. I probably want to mulligan a little bit aggressively, especially on the draw. We kind of get a free mulligan. But I'd rather not rely on the top of my deck for a really good card. And usually one Swords to Plowshares isn't good enough, which is kind of rough. So I'm going to mulligan this. This is actually better. We can bottom a land, which is great. And we have a turn 2 Aethersworn Canonist, which isn't too bad. So I'm going to keep this. I'm going to bottom the Karakas. I'm going to bottom the plains, actually. Caracas has a little bit more utility to it. Like we saw in game 1 with the... Uro. But also, you know, Caracas Teeg in response to Abrupt Decay or something. Alright, Vince has started off with Cavern into Quirion Ranger. Not too bad for us because they haven't played a Forest for turn. Trop. Okay. I think here I'm actually happy to go for Trop into Noble because I want to keep this Windswept Heath around in case we draw into Sylvan Library. And then if we see lands on top, I want to fetch them away. I don't want to be paying life for them, especially against Elves, where they could probably then just hoof a little bit instead of for the full amount and get us. And even when they go wide, it's a little bit scary. So let's just go Trop into Noble. Last week I actually did a piece with Vince on 7-Point Highlander. So if you're a fan of Pleasant Kenobi and a fan of me, you can share the video here. Yeah, Ramen Up's interesting. Ramen Up might be okay, especially against this version with so many non-basics. Alright. So now I'm feeling okay. There's Uro, which is interesting, but I think Canonist here is just better. So let's go for Canonist first. And then it's probably just Windswept Heath. In case they play Wirewood and then attack with both creatures, thinking they can return the one that is blocked by Canonist with the Wirewood, we can then get them with Dried Arbor, so that's kind of a consideration. This also bluffs something like Swords to Plowshares, which is nice. Peatland is probably okay. The 1 damage can add up, but luckily here once is going to be the 1 spell for the turn, so we do get to talk about this. I guess Peatland's kind of nice as well because we have it in play next turn in case we want to use it straight away. It doesn't take our draw step. So it could mean we get to do something like draw something irrelevant, draw with Peatland, draw Wasteland, and then Wasteland in the same turn. So that's definitely a consideration. Swords. Okay. So Swords is pretty nice. So let's go with Peatland here. I am going to draw because Zealous Persecution is a pretty big draw here. And we can cast it off these two. Dried Arbor. Now I might just pass back. Yeah. I could attack for 3, but I probably don't want to take 3 on the swing back. So here I'm going to let them untap. And then probably just Swords the Quirion Ranger and upkeep. Yeah, so my only reason with not attacking with a Canonist is that the swing back for 3 could hurt me more than the 3 going towards them. This looks like a decay. Okay. Another Visionary? For 1. Okay. Alright. Zealous, just one time. Wasteland's interesting. I'm gonna fetch first. For a Bayou. And we'll go for Uro. Definitely put in Caracas. But now I probably want to use the swords on the Wirewood and not return it, which is probably more than fine. But we'll see if they use the Wirewood in their turn or not. White Cannon is so deafening silence? Mainly because of the uptick in Elves, which it doesn't do too much against because it's only non-creature spells. But still doing 2, and then we have the 3-mana deck Thoughtseize, which is pretty good against combo decks as well. So here I'm pretty happy to swords the Wirewood. Would play the Ooze? Yeah, that's fair enough. I definitely was considering the Ooze as well. One thing I do want to start doing is try to get my opponent into a position where we could try to wasteland them and keep them off as much mana as possible, especially when we're thinking about natural order, but it's usually pretty hard. Back on the Civic. I do like that the deck is compared to a Honda Civic. Oh. Yeah, Elves is actually pretty fun. I think there's tools that have been printed recently that have made it a lot more interactive to play with, like Plague Engineer, thankfully. But yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, which is kind of nice. But unfortunately, sometimes you just play a deck that isn't the greatest against it, but you still have some game, which is nice. Containment Priest out of the board would be interesting as well, which I've seen a little bit, which does impact your Green Sun Zenith, but you know, Maverick's played with Gaddock Teeg for so long that I don't think that's really a consideration, luckily. I think here it really is just Zell's Persecution or bust. Okay, Leovold's pretty good. I think it's definitely Wasteland Cradle. And then probably just Leo hold up Caracas. Yeah, the whale that can bring back cards that you delved away with it is very cool. Once. Probably what I don't want to see here is once hitting another Cradle, but it looks like it might not have been the greatest thing. They took a little bit of time to think about it. Oof's fine. Interesting. So Vince might have thought that I'm on a Stoneforge Mystic package. Thoughtseize. 2 cards left. Alright. What do you got? Archon. Okay, well I'm pretty happy to take that. Play a land. Can probably attack here for 4. They could triple block, but I think I'm okay with that. Especially if Scoos is the backup plan. I can also return it if they do. So I probably just see no blocks here. And then probably just play Screws and hold up Hierarch. Ethereal Forger. That is it. Thank you very much. I always forget the name of it. Alright. Hopefully Screws can also take over this game. We have to be a little bit lucky with Kenobi's draws here. We know about one land in hand, I believe. Decay on Leovold. Alright, we draw a card first. Knight. Alright. Still know about a land. No? Surely. I guess now they can replay the Visionary to keep drawing lands. I keep drawing cards. Hopefully lands. 4 mana. Makes sense. Probably happy just to eat Archon here and then F6. I guess they wanted to decay because of the Caracas. And also so they could actually draw a card off the Visionary. Alright. Plague or Zealous. Plague or Zealous. Plague or Zealous. Plague or Zealous. So close. I guess Uro's a start. Let's attack first. Block return. Okay. That's fair. Green, blue. I'm definitely playing this, and I probably want to hold up something like Abrupt Decay. So I might as well go blue, blue here. Uro, Exile. I made 3 blue. Blue, green. Cool. Uro, Exile, Thoughtseize, Swords, Swords. Probably just lands here because of the Screws. A land here would be kind of nice as well, because then we get to play the Knight as well. Which I think is better than just holding up the 1. Yeah, Wasteland's pretty good. And I probably just rather playing the Knight here, because it also gives me an extra draw next turn with Nurturing Peatland. If I haven't already used it, I have. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, kind of an impending doom kind of turn, where we don't have much to do here. Uro versus Progenitus is always interesting, because at least you don't have to connect to draw a card or gain life, so the bounce ability doesn't... I guess it does stop the damage getting through, but it does allow us to draw into, hopefully, some more interactive spells. Okay. But yeah, James, what have you been playing in Rogue in regards to your creature suite? Obviously 4 Delver, but then what's your kind of plan with Goyf, Hexdrinker, Hooting Mandrills, or Dreadhorde? Or if you've just been playing in Rug 4 Arcanist 3 Goyf. Okay, nice. So just the 11 creatures, and then like 2 Oko? Yeah, it's fair enough. Arcanist is just such a great 2-drop that you kind of want to make sure you always have it on turn 2, or as much as possible. Oh. 5 mana. Yep. Looks pretty good. So yeah, just really relying there on Plague Engineer or Zealous, which is a pretty rough time. I don't think there's any changes I would make on the play. I think I'm happy just to run this back and see how it goes. Yeah. I guess Teeg's always nice there as well. It's not just going for the creature removal suite. So this is a little bit slow, but Kaya's pretty nice at exiling the turn 1 play. Unless it's a Green Suns or just a Dryad Arbor. But is this what I really want to, you know, just rely on? So this is turn 1, buy you into Dryad Arbor. And then turn 2 Kaya tick down on their 1-drop. Which isn't the worst, because Kaya is just so good at making sure that they can't go wide. Even if it just ticks down 3 times, it's a really good start. And the Sylvan Library does allow us to actually try to dig for those cards like Plague Engineer and Zealous Persecution. And we'll also... I guess we won't have a fetch land around for it unless we draw one. But I think this is okay, especially on the play. Yeah, especially the mana as well. It's just really nice. So we'll need to go for Bayou into Green Suns. Yeah, exactly. So if they just go land pass for Dryad Arbor, then we can definitely just play the Sylvan Library turn 2, which is nice. Just need to make use of our time as well, because we only have 7 minutes. Kaya is target non-land permanent, so it has to be a creature, a non-land creature, which Dryad Arbor, of course, is not. This looks like a Green Suns. Okay. So this definitely means Sylvan Library. So I guess like Wasteland or Swords to Plowshares would be a pretty nice draw here. Questing Beast. Okay. I kind of want to keep the fetch land for now. No, actually, so if we go Sylvan Library here, then if I draw into a Wasteland, I want to play that as well. And I might want to fetch as well. So we'll just go fetch land and then pass. Yeah, so next time we get to Kaya, and then we can do something like hold up Dryad Arbor. We can maybe... I guess if we draw into another land as well, we can also try to sword something. Reclaimer. Okay. So here I have to go for the Wirewood because the Elvish Reclaimer can be returned. Interesting. Another symbiote. Okay, that's fine. This is where Zealous would be huge. Okay, okay. Green Suns is nice. Because I can Green Suns if I want for Gaddock Teeg. Hey, thanks, James. All the best. Hope you're doing okay in the heat. I saw that you were running out the other day, and yeah, the heat must be pretty absurd right now. But yeah, thanks for coming in. So I feel like Green Suns for Gaddock Teeg is the not lose play. So I can put this on top. And probably... pay? Go to 15. I don't think Kaya does enough by herself. But I could be wrong. Kai is definitely the... Yeah, see, maybe... Okay, maybe Green Sun's Fatigue here is the play not to lose, but Kaya is the play to win. So let's get Scrubland. Play the Forest. White, black, green, Kaya. Tick down on a Y-Wood. And then just pass so that they can't kill the Kaya. Scary though. Especially with like natural order just being one land away. Yeah, I think Kai is good because it really pressures them. So if if they have it, they have it. But I feel like Teeg is just putting me back a little bit too much. Like if they have like natural order here, they have natural order. They've played the Cradle, so I assume they have something pretty big here. Tough one. Could even be like Green Suns for 3 to get like Rexage to destroy the Sylvan Library. Abrupt Decay. Okay. And Natural Order? Rough. Progenitus? Yikes. I just can't beat the Progenitus. I guess Questing Beast can. So we'll see how this goes. Put on top. Put on top. Yeah, I guess Teeg does also lose there. But not the greatest. I mean, they can block with the Progenitus and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately I think they do here. Yeah. Unfortunately we will save some time. I don't think we have any way to come back, especially going down to 4. We just don't have the resources to actually gain the 4 life, which is pretty tough. But yeah, rough. Maybe maybe I should make some more considerations for Containment Priest, because there are a few matchups where it's good. Even against that Bug Yorion deck, it's pretty nice, because if they exile creatures from Yorion, you can then Containment Priest, and then when they come back, they get exiled. Priest's also really nice against the Esper Vial decks in the format, because of Soul Herder and Aether Vial, which is pretty sweet. And of course, it doesn't die to Plague Engineer, which is kind of nice. Hey Vince, yeah, pretty rough. We had a play as well. Instead of playing the Kaya, we could have gone for Teeg to stop Natural Order, but you still had the Abrupt Decay, so we couldn't beat Abrupt Decay Natural Order anyway. But yeah, the Beast attack was our only way to win, because if you block with the Progenitus, then we can take care of the Progenitus, but unfortunately we don't have much else. We'll keep this. This is actually pretty nice. Mountain. Oh, was this just burn? Yeah, they were good games. We just tried to dig for Plague Engineer and Zealous Persecution in both games, but just couldn't get there. Yeah, all the best for your stream. Hope it goes well. This is interesting. Let's go for basic into bird. I think I might try to keep this Green Suns for now. There's also consideration to use the fetch land, so that if we draw into another fetch, we can play the Knights as a 4/4. Which probably is correct. Chain the bird, okay. Sunbake Canyon. Okay. Windswept. Alright. Let's go for... Fetch for Bayou. And I'm going to go for... probably just Hex Drinker here as a good blocker. Because I don't really need the mana acceleration here. If it eats a burn spell, then I'm happy as well. Metamorphose. Okay. Another Metamorphose. This is pretty rough. Yeah, that's it. That is game. At least on the play in game 2 should be pretty good. I do like Thalia. I do like Canonist. I think we can take out the Sylvan Libraries and the Thoughtseizers. I don't mind Force, but I'm not sure if they're going to be an Eidolon deck. They seem pretty low to the ground. I might bring in the Zealous, just in case. Zealous isn't really worth it, let's be honest. I might just keep a library, because at least we can still use it to scry, which can be relevant. Deafening Silence is interesting, seeing that they're playing a Metamorphose list. But I don't think that's something that I want to really be casting. I guess maybe it's okay. I guess we'll try to see more of the deck. Collector Oof can definitely come out. That's a pretty horrible card to have. But we'll see how this goes. A lot of life gain. Just not a lot of interaction in the early turns. That might just be too slow. This is a one-lander. Yeah. I'm gonna mulligan this. Okay. This is better. I'll keep this and I'll bottom the Oof and the Plague Engineer. And then I'm just gonna go for turn 1 bird off a Savannah. Swift Spear is okay. Gut shot? Yeah, this is not my day. This is not my day. Yikes. To be fair, I definitely should have thought about gut shot, especially being this a pretty big prowess deck. Gut shot me. I'm just gonna swords this in response. Which maybe that's incorrect. Maybe I should wait for them to actually do everything, because if they just cast another Monastery Swift Spear here, then yeah, maybe they wouldn't have otherwise. Maybe that first hand was okay. Rough. But yeah, against traditional burn, Maverick isn't too bad. Usually you're trying to swords your own creatures, which isn't a great play, but it's something. Interesting. They can't cast another spell now. I'm not too sure if they didn't read this. So they can't attack with a Swift Spear this turn, which is pretty funny. Swords. Probably better just to have the Pride Mage out. It didn't cast a spell in my turn either, which is really interesting. This is fine. Hark like Phoenix, alright. That is a pretty great hit for swords. But this is going to be a fast clock. I do need to draw into something good here. A land would be great. Not really where I want to be, but... So this is like a mono red Phoenix deck, which is kind of cool. They play Lava Dart. That might just be it. They have 0 cards in hand. Oh, they can flash back the looting. This might just be lethal. I have to block. Ugh. Because Lava Dart pumps it all up. Rough. Not the greatest league. But the deck was pretty fun. I guess there were some considerations for having more threats, because I feel like a lot of those games we just didn't really have ways to close out the game when we had good strangleholds in the early game. But we didn't really have any mana issues, which is pretty nice for a 4-color deck. I think the big issue was if our hand didn't have a mana accelerant, we probably were mulliganing the hand, which is rough. Yeah, I was playing with Thalias in this sideboard for this deck, but I guess I do like them main deck if I'm not playing such a non-creature heavy deck, or at least deck list. But yeah, just a little bit unfortunate in some of those games, but the list is pretty sweet. I think I'll run it back at some point. I might go down to 3 colors, but yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess if I did change things, I'd probably switch the Thalias with the Thought Seizers. Even though it puts you behind on the turn 3 Planeswalkers, you typically start with a mana accelerant in most of your keeps, so it shouldn't really come up at too much. But Thoughtseize was okay. So Thoughtseize was kind of taking the spot of, instead of playing Mother of Runes, you just go after their hand and take their removal or their threat. Which, I guess tonight we played against Elves, Burn, Blue-White Standstill, Yorion, and one other deck, which I just can't think of. The Canonist was nice. I thought the Canonist was great over the third Deafening Silence, and Zealous does seem pretty nice over the third Plague Engineer on the board, just because there's a few decks with so many X1s of different type. Yeah, I have been playing around with Bant, which has been pretty fun. I do like the soft splash of just like Oko and Meddling Mage, or even just Oko by itself. But I think 4-color is pretty good. There's not too many decks outside of Back to Basics that are hurting our mana right now. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, just a little bit unfortunate. Especially that Standstill game where we didn't really draw a threat until very late in the game 1. But I was pretty happy with Sylvan Safekeeper. That had some pretty cool lines. And also just a Green Suns for protection is nice. The Oof is becoming a little more and more just not needed in the main deck, but there's not too much that I'm seeing right now that's really kind of wanting me to play the Oof in the main deck, outside of maybe Test, but even there it can just be a little bit too slow. There's not many Karn decks going around, there's not many Stoneblade lists going around. It's okay against Esper Vial because it turns off Vial, which really makes them rely on a pretty shaky mana base, but yeah, maybe it's time for Teeg to come back in, especially with Elves. Teeg, of course, just so much better, but it could be pretty interesting. The one nice thing about not having such a huge creature base and relying on some of the Planeswalkers to finish off games is that you can play around cards like Dead of Winter a little bit more by going wide on the board with Walkers, which allows you to kind of compete on the same level as some of these high value decks because you're still churning out some results every turn instead of just being sort of scared to go wide on board with creatures. Because Dead of Winter is just a card that I don't think Maverick has an answer against. It's just a little bit too hard. I mean, you can name Meddling Mage, but for the decks that play Dead of Winter, they just have so many removal spells that it's pretty hard to lock them out of one just with a Meddling Mage. So that's pretty interesting. I think we are playing Bant Depths on Sunday. Jono Yannick, also known as Dreadnought33, is coming on for a co-host, which should be really fun. Pretty much the green-white variant, which you see on the Green Sun Zenith with a blue splash. You can find the primer on the green-white version here, but we'll be playing a blue version with Oko, Uro, and maybe some other cards in the board, but we'll see how that goes. But until then, that is me. A huge thank you to everyone who came in. The resubs were awesome. The followers were great. I'm going to quickly see who's playing some Legacy, and I feel like Marco is. So I might go over to Marco's channel. But a huge thank you once again. I'll be back on Sunday morning at around 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. A huge thank you once again. My name is Dukes on Twitch. You can find me on Twitter here. You can find all my videos here on YouTube. And you can find me, of course, at thegreensunzenith.com. Hey, GD, thanks for the follow. I hope you're well. A huge thank you once again. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you next time.